This is what we'll make at the end of this video, a countdown and a timer. So if you want to learn how to make this stuff, continue watching this video. Hello and welcome to this Unity tutorial. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a countdown and normal timer. First we're going to make the countdown timer, and then we're going to use its code and change it a little bit to make the normal timer. So first start by making a C# script and call it countdown timer. Open it up. Okay, so first I'm going to define a variable which is public float starting timer, which for me is 300, which means your starting timer, which for me is 300 seconds. The second one would be private float time. In start method, we're going to say time is equal to starting time, which we're kind of setting the time here. The next thing we want to do is that say if time is more than 0, we're going to decrease it. So time minus equal time dot delta time. We're going to use time dot delta time because update is called once per frame. So if your frame is 60 or 120, and if you don't use time dot delta time, this could mess up your timer. And say else, if it's not greater than 0, then we say time is equal to 0. So just to check it, I'm just going to change it to like 10. And then we say here debug.log timer. Let's check it. Okay, so here I'm going to create an empty game object. I'm going to call it countdown. And then I'm just going to attach this script to it. So starting time is 10, and when I start the game, in here we can see the timer. Okay, so good. Let's go back to coding. Okay, so for our code to be cleaner, I'm just gonna put this code here into a function called countdown. Public void countdown. I'm just gonna paste it and remove this debug.log and put the countdown in the update method. So the next thing we want to do is that we want to actually display it in UI. So here I'm just going to use using Unity engine.ui because we want to use UI elements. And here I'm going to define public text text. So here I'm going to make a public void update UI. Let's make this lowercase. Update UI, yeah. And here I'm just gonna say that text equals to time dot toString. So we use toString because time is a float variable, and we need to convert it to string to be able to use it for text. And here I'm just gonna say update UI to be able to update the UI. So here I'm just gonna make a UI canvas, call it canvas, let's call it canvas, yeah. And then I'm gonna make a panel just to make it look a little bit better. And here I'm just gonna increase the opacity, and under the panel I'm gonna make UI a text. So if we use F to focus on it, it's a little bit small and it's blurry, so I'm just gonna make the font size about 100 and then align it, and then maybe make it a little bit bold, and then I'm just gonna make it a little larger and put it here. It doesn't matter what displays here in this text. We could just say 0000, and then in your countdown object that we made, just drag this text here under the text. And if we start, now you can see it starts the countdown, but usually in games we just don't want this decimal part. Instead we want the minutes and seconds to be displayed, and now you see if it hits 0 it just stops kind of. So let's go back to the coding part. So here we want to define a function called public void converter. We want to convert this time into minutes and seconds. So let's say let's first define a variable here, private int minutes or minute, private int second, and here in the converter we say minute equals to mathf dot floor to int timer or time divided by 60. And so here we say that the minute is equal to floor to int of the time divided by 60. So you know that each 60 seconds is a minute, and if we divide a number to 60, it will have an integer part and decimal part. So this function right here, mathf.floor-to-int, will get us the integer part. Now for the second, we say that mathf floor-to-int time minus parentheses minute divided by 60. So in here we subtract the minute part from the timer and then get the integer part for the second. And here in update UI method we use converter to convert the minutes and seconds, and here instead of this we can say minute plus double dot and plus seconds, and here we can display our timer into minutes and seconds. Let's try that in game. So here let's change the starting timer to something about 350 and then start the game. As you can see, now we can display the minutes and seconds of our timer here. Now let's make the normal timer. So let's first click here, create a C# script and call it timer. We open the timer. So here we're just going to use the countdown timer and then change a few lines of code to be able to use it for our timer. So we first change the name to timer, change the script name to timer, or whatever you have named your script. Now there are a few things that we need to change. First, we don't need the starting timer. The second thing is we don't need start method anymore. The third thing is that these if statements are useless now because we're no longer decreasing the timer. So, and the last thing is that we need to change it to plus, so the time goes up, not down, and everything else stays the same. Now back to Unity. First, let's start making a empty game object, call it timer, and then we attach this script to it, and then we're gonna make text on the panel. Let's call it timer text, and then I'm just gonna increase the font size to 100 and then bold and align it, and I'm just gonna make the box a little bit bigger here like this, yeah. And under the timer, let's just drag this timer text to it, and if you start the game, you can see that this one is a timer and this one is a countdown timer. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, please tell me down in the comment section, and if you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel. Goodbye.